So I woke up on Christmas and found a present from Konami. And it is a new card, a new Zefra card in Maximum Crisis. Again, that's coming out in January for OCG and May for the TCG. It's this trap card, normal trap card right here. Zefra no Seisen, otherwise translated into Celestial Crusade of the Zefra. The artwork is really low resolution right now. All I can really make out is the Zefra core in the foreground over here. Its effect reads, you can only activate one Crusade per turn. If there are 2 Zefra cards in your pendulum zones, you can activate this card from your hand. Target 1 Zefra card you control and 1 card your opponent controls, destroy them. So as for the effect, it's really similar to Infernity Break. This archetype already has an Infernity Barrier, so we're just adding an Infernity Break to it. Keyword, destroy them is pretty cool because it means even if you don't destroy your own target, you still destroy the other target, which is the 1 card your opponent controls. This can be good for Seagok scenarios. For example, if you pendulum summoned a Zefra Thorben, you use your Zefra Thorben to destroy 1 Zefra card and 1 of their cards, and then you can chain Crusade to Zefra Thorben, targeting the same card on your side to destroy, but a different card on your opponent's side to destroy. Both of them are going to still resolve, destroying the 2 targets on the opponent's side, but only that 1 Zefra on your side. Also, it has synergy with the spell card, the Zefra spell card coming out in the same set, Zefra Providence. Its Grave effect, which is you can banish it to protect a Zefra card from being destroyed. If you have that in the grave and you activate this, you can protect your Zefra card on the field while still resolving the effect to pop 1 card your opponent controls. Zefra Providence can search this, which is cool. Zefra New can search this, which is cool. This gives Zefra New a second type of defensive card. Before, the only defensive card you could search with Zefra New in a Zefra deck is Zefra Divine Strike, which is obviously not ideal if you don't have any Zefras face up in your extra deck, or if all the Zefras face up in your extra deck you need to pendulum summon on the following turn. This card destroys a Zefra card on your side of the field, so it helps fill up the extra deck for larger pendulum summons instead of removing your extra deck resources that you want to be using for the following turn. So yeah, this is a pretty cool option. One more thing about its main effect, to destroy 1 on yours and 1 on theirs. 9 Pillars of the Yang Zings can already destroy a Zefra New on your opponent's turn to trigger Zefra New on your opponent's turn. This can do it as well. You can destroy your Zefra New on your opponent's turn, pop a card they control, and then get that additional Zefra New search. That's definitely pluses, but as I said, 9 Pillars does that already. Following on from the tradition of Zefra. Now, Zefra is an archetype widely known for its unnecessary restrictions. All of the Zefra Pendulum monsters has the restriction that you can only pendulum summon your own archetype. 1 to 7 scales, none of them having a positive effect in the scales, and all of them having a negative effect in the scales, while we have these generic Performer Powers and Metaphor 1 to 8 scales that can pendulum summon anything you want. So, pretty unnecessary. Even Zefra Providence, its grave effect can't be used the same turn and sent to the graveyard. Even this card right here continues the tradition of unnecessary restrictions, which is you can only activate 1 Crusade per turn. Like, why? I don't even know. If there are 2 Zefra cards in your pendulum zones, you can activate this card from your hand. That's pretty cool. You can use this as a quick play spell on your own turn. So if you manage to get 2 Zefra cards in your pendulum zones, and then you search this card, you really want to get rid of something on your own turn, the same turn that you search this card, you can just go ahead and activate it, pop something. That's pretty cool. Since it is a trap card, if you have 2 Zefra in your pendulum zones, you can keep this card in your hand and activate it directly from your hand on your opponent's turn without setting it. So plays around back row removal, although not really, since they could just pop your scales to prevent you from using this from your hand on their turn if they have back row removal. I'm definitely a really big fan of trap cards that can be used the turn you draw or add it to your hand. And I'm also a big fan of trap cards that you can just activate from your hand on your opponent's turn. But realistically, having 2 Zefra cards in your pendulum zones is actually quite a difficult thing to do. And the reason is you never want your Zefras in your pendulum zones. Not only do they do absolutely nothing as a pendulum scale, they also restrict your pendulum summons to your own archetype. So when I play pure Zefras, ideally my pendulum scales would be something like Monkey Board and Unicorn, or Abductor and Eccentric, things like this. And then I want to pendulum summon out the Zefra monsters instead of using them as a scale, because they actually have decent effects when they get pendulum summoned. So having them in the scale is not very ideal. So you're either not going to be using this card directly from your hand, or you're going to be making some suboptimal plays to get 2 Zefras in your pendulum zones. Maybe we'll get a third card in the set. I highly doubt it, but maybe we will get something like the Dynamis card in the same set to establish Zefra cards in both of your pendulum zones really easily. I mean, that could be a possibility, but as it stands, this added bonus is nice, but it's probably not going to happen. For the purposes of the Yang Zing Zefra deck, I probably would not play any copies of this card, just because 9 Pillars outclasses this in pretty much every scenario. The only scenario you would want this instead of 9 Pillars is when they do a bunch of inherent summons that you can't negate and overlay into Utopia Lightning. That process, you can't 9 Pillars anything, and then their lightning is just going to run over your Yang Zings, which is when you need a card like this. But if you set up a Baxia play on your opponent's turn, Baxia for 2 is obviously going to cover all of those scenarios much better than this pop 1 on your side, pop 1 on their side nonsense. So yeah, thanks Konami for the Christmas present. I don't really like it, but I guess it's a thought that counts. Before I end this video, there is a Boxing Day sale going on at ygosingles.com right now. If you're looking for any Yu-Gi-Oh cards for yourself or your friends, a lot of cards are on discount, so I suggest you check that out, and you can get another 5% off on top of that by using the discount code NY333YGO. Have a good new year, everybody.